Yo, Tony D back with the special one, Swamp Thing, 20 center. There's a little story time with this. I was in junior high, and there was a kid in the neighborhood that had a box of comics. And it's funny how I always ended up seeing these kids in their boxes. They would buy comics, just put them in a box, and they would just sit there. And it was in a closet. I don't know how he got to it, but he brought it down. I think I was always talking about it. And I was like, I'll give you $20 for that box. And he was really, he just hit the jackpot. So that part of his life, comic books didn't mean anything. They were just a minor form of entertainment. And he had these Swamp Things in here that I read these over and over. These Swamp Things had a superhero vibe to it, but it had that strange, eerie horror comic vibe. It was a time of crossing over a little bit, I would say. It's an interesting time. Len Wein, writer, good writer, but there would always be these narrations that were very well written, very poetic, dramatic. And I remember going through these. Keep in mind, I haven't cracked this open in maybe 25 years. And just going through the mega shop, I just ran into it and I was like, gotta do a video. And then this, they've changed it throughout the years, but in this one, it was a kind of an alien type thing that destroyed the laboratory. Really good artwork. And I always love these weird alien hybrid type stuff. That was the one thing that created that element of hero / horror, eerie, smashed together. Really good stuff. Because if you remember before Corruption of the Innocents, books predominantly were horror themed. It was out there. Kids were gobbling it up. And then that whole thing, that's a whole nother video. But you really get this transition from a lot of those books into what we have now. A lot of these characters transferred into the hero portion. And oh, what a great shot of a other life in the swamp is affected. Yeah, it's good stuff. That Swamp Thing. He just super strong, of course. And these two, their goose is cooked. So that's Matt Cable. And I believe that's our girl. Was it Abby? Yeah, Abigail Arcane. She is a huge part of the Swamp Thing mythos. So he can't speak, but he can think. So you do a lot of these thought bubbles. He takes care of that guy. And this is where it gets really, you could see as a kid just why you would reread this stuff. Look at this crazy looking alien, weird creature, giant mutations. And they have Abigail, and it's really great artwork. This stuff was just fascinating to me as a kid. There was always something going on in the swamp. So the origin setup back then was brilliant because you're just set up for the imagination it's unlimited what you could do with that type of setup. And I always loved the backgrounds, that futuristic vibe with the backdrop of a swamp. Really a good contrast, I thought. So now they got, the whole town is in on it. What are we doing here? So the worms are explaining their stuff. They're actually aliens. They're not really mutations. You get to this guy. And it was always, you're always running into stuff this. Professor Zachary Nail. What a cool name. So he goes into his origin. And also there's some crossovers with Phantom Stranger, Spectre of the Stalking Swamp. So that's always been a theme too. It gives a platform for these other characters to stretch their origins and their dealings. So this is just a lot of that. So this guy's turned out to be a real jerk. Swamp Thing, he's doing what he's got to do. He's got to save Abigail. I really like how they always kept the white hair. That's a signature for her. This book is barely held together. It's wonderful. I'll never get rid of it. Not that I could. These guys, they're getting out of here, man. Ain't nothing good going on here. What a cool alien architecture set that's been here a while. These artists are great. They don't get enough credit, I don't think. Drawing like that has got to be hard. He could take them out, but they have a primitive form of mental telepathy. So yeah, he's like, take me to your leader, you know, that whole thing. And yeah, now you have a little revolt going on. They ain't having it. The aliens are, I don't know if these are aliens or if they are swamp mutations created by that. I think that's what it is. They were created by the alien ship, radiation. But yeah, they start, they have that Soylent Green moment where they wish to preserve man's knowledge, his spirit, you know. That's what that guy wants. But yeah, we want to preserve the body for food. And it's like, oh, if Soylent Green, you know what I'm talking about. It's funny, actually. But yeah, we ain't worm food. So they start getting out. The mutated worms reveal that they have an agenda that supersedes their supposed leader's agenda. He ain't having it. And look what this guy does. What a jerk. Yeah, a lot of drama. I'll talk a lot about that too, how drama really adds layers to a comic. Yeah, they got to get out of there in the Swamp Thing. He does what he has to do. So there's tragedy. Oh, and being younger, I didn't have access to online stuff or anything. Getting the next issue of this was, I would have to go on a hunt. And I didn't know about local comic shops. But I do remember seeing this, wanting to keep going. But it just, you had to keep your ears open, your eyes peeled, just for those type of things. Comics were, yeah, without the internet and the modern convenience we have, I would literally have to just keep, there was nowhere I could think of going. It was just one of those literally, it was run into another kid and hope they had the next issue. You got to get the Swamp Thing.